Good morning. You should all pat yourselves on the back for remembering to set your clocks ahead. And good morning and welcome to the Sunday Celebration of Spirit here at Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. We honor you wherever you are on your spiritual path. Please take this opportunity to turn off cell phones, pagers, anything that sends or receives an electronic signal. And then greet your neighbor. Hi. We here at the Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living recognize that there are indeed infinite paths to, but only one God. So the word to this morning's chant will be up here on the flute chase and will be followed by a spiritual mind treatment by the one, the only, Reverend Karyl Huntley.
Good morning, everyone, and I would like to add my thanks for setting the alarm clock earlier this morning. It seemed pretty darn dark, didn't it? But here we are, and we're creating a great place for the people who are going to walk in at about 5 minutes to 11 going. So if you would turn with me, and the theme of this prayer is creating the home, the nest for all. So I know that our ultimate home is everywhere, all-knowing and all-powerful. I know our ultimate home is that which we call God, the source, the divine love intelligence throughout the universe, the sacred pattern that connects everything. That is really home. A home of belonging and security and sweetness, connection, love, inspiration, divine direction, abundance, beauty, prosperity and joy, balance and wholeness. Those qualities that make life worth living. Those qualities that remind us that deep inside, happiness is our natural state. I know that I am at home in God right now. And I know the same for each person here. I know that whether anyone is feeling like they belong or that they don't belong, that they are in joy or in lack, I know that no matter what we are feeling, that the glorious life of God enlivens us and is all around us all the time. And so in this moment, we choose that aspect of home that appeals to us the most right now. The quality that I have named, or the quality that is in your heart of hearts. And as we turn to it, everything else falls away, because awareness is creative. And as each one of us holds a divine quality, whether it is love or peace or power or joy or beauty, that pattern makes our home here, our spiritual home, the Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. Welcoming those folks who are getting ready right now, and welcoming those folks that maybe have heard about us, but today they're showing up. Welcoming those that will come tomorrow and the next week and the next week and the next week. Knowing that as we create this spiritual home, they truly will come. And all of our lives are changed for the better as we focus on those qualities that we love. So I give my thanks for this prayer. Simple, simple ideas that if we leaned into them, the world would change for the better. We do that now. And as I release this prayer, the prayer keeps circulating within us, creating the fulfillment of itself. And so it does, and so it is. Amen. So we have a wonderful guest. Actually, he's family. The Scott Kellickstein Grace is family. And we claim Ross Gualco on keyboard as well. But are we having that sweet poem first? Yay! Okay. You are going to be so glad that you're here on time. Please welcome Scott Grace.
Oh boy, are your cell phones off? Are your senses on? Good. Now there's going to be a point in this poem where the word achoo is going to seem like the next word. And if you can join me on the word achoo. Okay, Jim got it. Jim, could you stand up here and model it for everyone? Is that looking good? Thank you. Okay. All right. What's that? Oh, it's not a note. This is a poem, not a song. All right. If Dr. Seuss was on the loose and speaking at New Thought churches, I bet we'd find his talks would rhyme a lot like the following verses. Ask and it's given, it says in the Bible. But if you're like me, then you're really quite liable to ask in a way that is more like complaining. Not like, let there be sun. More like, make it stop raining. And if you are focused on what you don't want, the universe has no choice but to respond by delivering more of what you're focused on. It could drive you to web surf at hopeless.com. Then along comes a minister, a book, or a song that helps you to get you've been asking all wrong. Let's say you want money, more love, or a smartphone. Whatever you're wanting, just get in the God zone. The God zone is where you're receptive and calm. It's when you're tuned in, tapped in, and turned on. You get in the zone through prayer and meditation, and then open your eyes and share good vibrations. Then miracles, watch how they come. like potato chips. You can't have just one. So let's get relief from beliefs that are making you paddle upstream till your muscles are aching, paddling madly in your quest for more ease. It's a clear classic case of mad paddler's disease. Let go of the oars, you hear somebody say. By the sweat of thy brow causes endless vey. God's current, it moves towards your wildest dreams, and nothing you're wanting is waiting upstream. Let's say you have nest eggs you'd love to be hatched. Your job's to become a vibrational match, to know in your heart that you fully deserve it, that the whole universe is just itching to serve it, to trust what you're drawn to is drawn to you too, just as sure as God bless you comes after achoo. Now, some find this all too materialistic, too Pollyanna, not realistic. They might call you selfish as you're getting bolder, but selfish is in the eyes of the beholder. Just thank them for sharing and wish them the best, and keep on being selfish with a capital S. Not a selfish that's driven by greed or by fear, but a selfish that's elfish and perfectly clear that a great way to help people out of their cages is to know that you're one with a God who's outrageous. Your natural high will be highly contagious. Serve the world by example. It's most advantageous. As you grow in these teachings and make some advances, you'll no longer be driven by your circumstances. The road might have bumps, but you're behind the wheel now. And you got power steering to steer how you feel now. No longer a happiness procrastinator. It's official. You're now a conscious co-creator. Consciously choosing more limitless thoughts, tossing out all your shoulds and your have-tos and oughts. And whether or not all your prayers bear fruit, you're so happy to pray you don't give a big hoot. It's a thrill to be tuned in, tapped in, and turned on, enjoying it all at itsallgod.com. Hanging out in the vortex, hanging out in the God zone. Hanging out in the God zone, you like it a lot there. But don't get hung up on the way that you got there. Whether Ernest Holmes, Christ, or a Buddhist retreat, all paths lead us up to the same mountain peak, and the top of the mountain does not really care which teacher or method helped get you up there. And when you're on top, it's time to slide down, to bring your good cheer to the folks on the ground. Not that you'll be on a serious mission. The world's had enough missionary positions. Your mission's to feel great, and that is enough. Because nothing's more important than feeling God's love. That's how you give the whole world a big hug. Nothing's more important than feeling God's love. Thank you.
Was that great or what? Aren't you glad you got up in time or whatever it is to be here for that? Where else could you go on a Sunday morning and have such wonderful stuff? So now's the time to say blessings to the children, both the large ones and the small one, and wave the goodbye as they go off to teach their teachers. And by the way, I'm Reverend Sarah Hargrave, staff minister at this wonderful spiritual community. Gratitude. We always have time for gratitude, and we want to thank the current Core Council for all they have done while they have been on the Core. So would anybody who is on the current Core Council please stand up? Stay standing, because we want all of the people who have ever served on the Corps Council to join them in standing. It takes real dedication and intention to serve and serve so well. So we are so grateful for all of you who have stepped forward to do that. Today is the annual meeting. It's immediately after the service, and there's voting to be done by the members. You sign in and get a voting card. And there's also a luncheon that will be served. It's $5 for the luncheon, so just go over and pick up your lunch and then bring it to your chair and sit down, and the meeting will start. Easter is coming, if you haven't noticed. Please sign up for the wonderful Easter celebration. There'll be an Easter basket auction that you can promote your business or service by making a wonderful basket to offer to other people to bid on. And then those of you who have not made a basket or have made a basket and want somebody else's basket can bid on that. There will also be food for the brunch, and we need volunteers and food for that. So there will be a party and potluck, Easter bonnet contest, and the Easter bonnet contest is open to men, women, children, anybody, maybe even animals, huh? And I think that's enough. That's about the brunch. And then Reverend Lloyd is speaking this afternoon in the city at 2 o'clock. For those of you who have not been, it's a wonderful treat. And there's material, flyers on the table telling you directions on how to get there. Most of you know that our beloved Bea Gianelli made her transition. And there's a memorial service for her on Saturday, March 17th at 11 a.m. at Fernwood. And a sign will be up here on the podium for you to look at. And there's also one on the events table that will tell you the directions and time and so forth. Read your bulletin, because there's a lot more coming up. And this was sneaked to me by you-know-who about quantum spirituality with Peter Canova, so there's flyers for that. I managed to get that in. And I just want to thank all of you who are here for the very first time. We are, and those who are back after a very long time, we are so grateful for your presence. Your presence is a real present and a blessing to us, and we are so grateful you are choosing to be with us, whether this is your first time or many, many, many times that you've been here. So I think that's it, and now it's time for our wonderful Reverend Karyl, incomparable Reverend Karyl.
Thank you. Good morning. And look how it's filled up. This is fabulous. So I'd like to draw your attention to this wonderful altar that is Janet Ryan today. And I want you to look specifically at the bowl. The bowl is from one of Janet's teachers, decades. She studied with this woman. Her name is Tamara, and she used that bowl in giving and receiving rituals over and over and over again. And when we get into the theme of the morning, you'll see how perfect it is for our theme. So we just bless Tamara and the energy of that bowl that has done so much mystical work. The little copper tendrils that come out of it are symbolic of the overflowing givingness of spirit, that we are in a universe where it is given to us all the time. And on this side here is the prayer of St. Francis, which is also going to be perfectly harmonious with the topic this morning. So thank you, Janet. A little bit further over is our tree with the tools for transformation. That is our theme for the year. And some of you, I know this is your first time here or first time back, we have trees that are manageable size that you can take. Those paper trees are on the newcomers table. And what we're doing is each one of the leaves represents a Sunday. And each Sunday there is a word, and the word is your study for that particular week. Around the leaf where the word is are two little tendrils, kind of like the tendrils coming out of the bowl there. One of the tendrils is for you to write an affirmation for yourself, because I can talk and be as inspirational as I can possibly be, and if it doesn't touch you, if there isn't a receptive place in you, then it'll just be an interesting morning. Then the other tendril is for the action that you are going to take around this particular word, because even if we say affirmations over and over and over and over again, if we don't change the way we show up in the world through our action, then nothing really has changed either. And so this is a philosophy that can transform your life. I don't know how many times I have heard people say, this philosophy has saved my life. But it saved their life because they did something. They did something different. And practice, as we know, is meant to be active, rigorous, and dynamic. So I am here to help you transform your lives for the better. How many people would like that? Okay. Some people are wildly shaking their hands. So this is for you. And I'm here to help you. All the practitioners and teachers are here to help you as well. So additionally, we are going a year-long book study in this book, Living in Gratitude, by Angeles Arian, following her monthly themes. And the monthly theme for March is compassionate service. Now, this is a beautiful theme, especially for today, as we honor the core council who are serving, the ones who are moving away from service, and the ones who are moving into service. But I thought about, why did she put service in March? And then I thought, when spring arrives, it is the most natural movement in us to shift the energy from turning inward, where it's been in the winter. In the winter, it's very natural for us to turn within, just like we go into our houses, we go in to stay warm. It's dark, and so we sleep and meditate more. When it's spring, and here it is, daylight saving time, and here the sun, there's a rainbow out there because it's been raining and the sun is coming in. So spring is about turning that energy outward. We're interested in new things. We go outside for walks. We notice the beauty in the flowering trees and the flowers. And we have energy to give to others. Have you felt your energy pick up a little as the days lengthen? Yeah, and you will more. So we are children of the earth. We follow what other living things do on the earth. And so I want to talk a little bit about hens and eggs. Because hens and eggs are the perfect example of what happens in the springtime, and no wonder eggs are a symbol of Easter, which is the holiday of resurrection. If hens are, and other birds as well, are left to their own devices, and that means they're not forced in hatching hotels, they don't lay eggs until there is 12 hours of sunlight. And so can you imagine our ancestors having lived from the fall equinox through the winter with food stores getting shorter and shorter and shorter, and then all of a sudden the hen gives us this little package of protein out of nothing. We go out and there in her nest is an egg. Well, that would be pretty darned impressive, wouldn't it? Pretty happy for our ancestors. And so just the eggs are really the essence of being a generous chicken, right? We thank them. I actually have a friend whose spiritual practice has a lot to do with her chickens, and she is so grateful for the eggs when they come. So it's the same principle for us, that we have ways of being and giving that are as natural as laying eggs are for chickens. And it's time now in the year for us to express in that way. And it's true for all of nature. The flowers are giving forth of their blossoms, the trees are giving forth of their leaves, and so it's time for us to give forth of that which is in us. And so our word for today, of course, is service. And the title of my talk is Serving Save-A Soup. Now, the soup word is that if we all give what we have to give, we will have this wonderful soup of nutritious generosity. And seva is a Sanskrit word that means sacred service. It's not just service, it is sacred service. So in order for you to get the idea of what sacred service is and how it can work in your life, I want to talk about the 5 sacred practices. I won't talk in detail about all of them, but I'm going to mention them so you get the idea of how these practices work in a sacred life. These practices are common for all wisdom traditions, and they are prayer, meditation, study, tithing, and serving. Those are the 5 practices. And if you think about it, you might think of some others, and I think they'll fit in those. Like some of you like to dance, and dance is a sacred practice for you. But when you think about it and what happens to you when you are in that state of sacred dance, it's like meditation. It's like a moving meditation. So those 5 practices, which we encourage everybody to do every day, and let me just say, I don't. I try. But I have my favorite, and that's what this talk is about too, finding your favorite practice. So the practices are prayer, meditation, study, tithing, and serving. Now, some of these practices tend to flow out. When we pray, we are usually wanting to contact or connect with that energy that brings things to us. When we are tithing, there's the same thing. We are giving out so that we can feel the connection and receive back. And it's the same way with service. It is an energy moving from us into the world. We take our energy and we give it in love to someone else. Then some of the practices seem mostly to be the other way, that the energy is flowing in. So in meditation, we are receptive. We aren't doing any direction whatsoever. We are receptive. And the same with study. We are receptive. So each of these practices, each of these 5 practices can be done in a sacred way. You can be in that place of opening to God and practice one of these practices in a way that you like. But in addition to practicing in a sacred way, they all also can be done in a light, shallow, or worldly way. I remember when I was in my 40s, I had a reunion with some of my sorority sisters, and this was the first time that I had seen an adult woman with braces. Now, it's not that uncommon, but she was my first observation of a grown woman with braces on. And she said, it's caused me quite a bit of pain, and my dentist taught me how to meditate to alleviate the pain. And I was a minister at the time, and I said, do you do that as sacred practice? And she looked at me like she didn't understand what I meant, because she had just learned meditation to alleviate pain. And it worked. But she didn't seek God in that experience. She sought being alleviated from pain. Now, another example of doing things in a shallow way, sometimes, and I know no one in this room, when I have had people in classes where a number of treatments, written out prayer treatments, are assigned. Our kind of prayer treatment has 5 steps to it. I've actually had students who paste and copy step 1, 2, 4, and 5 on their treatments, and the middle step is, where they ask for stuff. And I'm going, no, that's a shallow treatment. We need to really involve the whole person in all 5 steps. So we can even do these practices with resentment. You know? I mean, you can serve in this, and it's happened. I've seen it. People don't ask for volunteer breaks, and then they get resentful because they've served so long in the same capacity, and it isn't doing for them the same thing that it did for them in the past. And so they get resentful. That's why we had the volunteer fair for a couple of weeks, for the last couple of weeks. And that's why we cycle people on and off the core council, because burnout is a real thing. So, so you can practice these in a sacred way, in a worldly way, in a resentful way. And then there's another way that you can do these practices that is so precious and so deep that it really creates a doorway into, like Scott's poem, with many ways to the top of the mountain. These practices are a doorway to the top of the mountain, if you let them. And there are ways that you can get into these practices that are so precious that you would never not do it. It is so important to you that you would never not do it. And one of the examples is, a lot of you know Lloyd Tupper. You know that he's living in the Doris Jones Memorial bedroom in my house. And so at about 7:15 every morning, I go in with my cup of coffee, and he is propped up in bed with opened books by Ernest Holmes, Thomas Troward around him. Every morning he is studying the same material. I ask him what he's doing, and he says, "Oh, I'm getting ready for my talk." Never mind that he is giving a talk this afternoon, and the same thing will happen on Monday morning. I'll go in there, he will just have finished a talk, he'll be studying, and I'll say, "Hi, what you doing?" And he'll say, "I'm getting ready for my talk." He cannot not do it. It is irresistible to him. So how a practice becomes irresistible, would we all like to have a practice that's irresistible? Yeah. There's two components to an irresistible practice. One is a component of committed consistency, and then there is a component of grace. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about service, because that is the topic for the morning. So if we are committed servants, if we are seva servants, we do something, moving the loving energy from us, we do it and do it and do it and do it with an openness to God, seeking God through the practice. So in the morning, this morning, when I prayed with the volunteers, I prayed that in the practice of service this morning, that they see God in every face, so that the service becomes its own reason for doing it, because it's so pleasant. But in order for it, well, I'm not quite there yet, because I want to quote Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, there was a reporter who came to her in Calcutta and said, "Mother Teresa, how can you keep serving these dirty, wretched, invalid, smelly people?" And she said, "I see the face of my beloved Jesus on every face, and it is my joy to give to them." Now that is a practice that has become irresistible. And it's not only because of her consistently doing it, but there is an element of grace that also comes from God. And this you can't order up. You open to it, and when everything's right, it's a mystery. When the gift of grace shows up in your life, but it is a sacred gift that is so magnificent that you know it is loving energy directly from God to you. It is bestowed on you with such grace and such joy and such specificity that it's your piece of God energy, that it entangles you in the practice. It makes it irresistible for you. So I am blessed to be a gardener of roses, that it is irresistible to me. I cannot not do it. And I had a very interesting experience because I was talking to a friend of mine who also lives in Sonoma County, and she said, oh gosh, we had this garden and I loved doing it, but a snipping every day just got more than I could do. I mean, she's a prayerful person, but the activity of serving her plants was a job for her. It wasn't an irresistible spiritual practice. And so I became very aware how gifted I am in my love of my garden and my roses, because from April to November, I am with my roses every day. I don't do it on Sunday morning, but I do it on Sunday afternoon. I am out there. I am snipping. I am deadheading roses. I am making bouquets. I am finding one aphid and wiping it away. I am watering, feeding, shaping. I am talking to them. I am keeping track of each bloom. Each bloom. I know when I'm going to pick each one for what bouquet, which ones I'm going to take to the office. And I'm looking at the shape of the plant, the activity of the blooms, the color of the leaves, the color of the soil, when they need to be fed. I talk to them and give them jobs, and it's an irresistible practice of service. When I go out of town, I miss it. When I go out of town, I say to them, this bud's going to be a lot bigger when I get back. And it is. Now, part of this irresistibility is me. And I'm telling you what, I grew up in Arizona where there was cactus. And for me to have thought that this would have been my pathway to God, I mean, it is the most consistent pathway to God that I have. It is irresistible, and I always, always do it because I love it, and I see God. Now, there is something for all of us like that. And so it's the doorways to God. It's like the path up the mountain. Now, a doorway to God could be the study of a particular wise person. The doorway for you could be a particular kind of meditation or a particular kind of service. But there is a doorway for you because I believe that God longs for a sacred, intimate communion with each one of us more than we want it with God. And once we find that irresistible connection, we can't not do it. And so for you to, if you haven't found your doorway, know that there is your doorway. And that's the first step. So to make a spiritual practice is sustainable, I believe, only when it's irresistible. Otherwise we get bogged down. And I'm not the only lazy one, I know. When it's obligatory, it isn't as consistent. So that's why service is really so great, because service is very easy to sustain, especially for people that like other people, and most of us are that kind of people, that we have friends. And so the benefits are great. The benefits are immediate. The service is beautiful. It connects us with others. It makes love in the world. It accomplishes positive results. And this is I found this by Rachel Naomi Remen. It is an article from the Ions magazine from the spring of 1996. Service rests on the basic premise that the nature of life is sacred, that life is a holy mystery. When we serve, we know that we belong to life. When we serve, we see life as whole. From the perspective of service, we are all connected. All suffering is like my suffering. All joy is like my joy. The impulse to serve emerges naturally and inevitably from this way of seeing. So your service can be volunteering. Your service can be in a practice of saying to yourself what wants to happen here. You know, like Jeff came to me before the service and he said, "Do you need anything after the service?" And I said, "Stay right with me so I can give you orders." And he goes, okay. And so that was an example of him coming to me and saying, what wants to happen here? You can do that in the grocery store. You can do that in the mall. You can do that in the DMV. You can do that when you go and have dinner at someone else's house. You can say, what wants to happen here? And then when you look for the need that you can fulfill, that's part of sacred service. You can practice this by being a person of increase. Now, being a person of increase means that wherever you go, life is better around you. You know, I really try to be playful at Safeway when I go through the checkout. You know, I try to, you know, engage them so that there's a smile. When someone smiles because of something you have said, that is service. You have been a person of increase. Service is so great because it takes your attention off of you. So let me say how great that is. If you are unhappy about anything, your attention is pinpoint on you. You can't see the great other world. You're looking at what is disturbing you, and it is teensy-tiny consciousness and very creative because you're going, oh, I am looking at this really hard and I don't like it. I am looking at this really hard and I don't like it. That creates more of that. Instantly, when you serve, you are out of that. I remember when I was pregnant the first time and I had enough time to read books on childbirth because, of course, I wanted to know what was coming. And, of course, they never, it didn't match up. But there was this one book that I read, it's still published. It's called Spiritual Midwifery. And it says that when the labor, what do they call them? Bursts of energy or something. They didn't call them labor pains, but it was like waves of energy come. The best way to go through them is to love your coach, to put attention on the person, your midwife or your husband or your doula who is helping you. And I thought at the time, wow, that sounds like it takes a lot of concentration. But I actually was able to do it like once. And it worked. You know, and if it works there, it'll work any place. So if you're hurting, love somebody else. Service makes your life a great big yes. Because when you get in the groove of this, it's like, what wants to happen here? Well, yes, I can serve that. What wants to happen here? Yes, I can serve that. And so you have that consistency of doing it. And then what you get is you get to notice all the places that service happens. When I was doing this talk, I thought of every single team in this community that gives so much. I thought of individual people who have given way over the top. I thought about Bee's passing and how many people served that activity of her moving home and served the family. And so when you keep looking for where service happens, you get to see it everywhere. And then that becomes the default position for life. And how great would that be if everybody was giving more than they were asking? So how you can make an irresistible spiritual practice, I'm going to go over this one more time. You open to be of use every morning for making the world a better place. And then you act when you see that. Service is action. And as you act in service, you look for the face of God in the ones you're serving. And when you do that and make a habit of it, you have a very good possibility of having this become an irresistible spiritual practice. And then you can't not do it. You know, it's like, I can tell you this, I can describe it to you, but unless you have the experience, and I've heard from many people, servants in this community, they say, I just love to serve. And I can see it in their face. They just love to serve. It is an act of grace that gets you there, but you can set it up for yourself. You can serve consistently, ask to be of service, look for the face of God as you serve, and it will become irresistible to you. And so for the inner work, which is now casting the vision, I'm going to begin by reading the prayer of St. Francis, because this is exactly what we're talking about. So if you would turn within with me and let these words be your words. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. And it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. And so I see a world in which human needs are lavishly met by each other. I see a world in which there is never service fatigue because so many people are giving, that there is an overabundance of seva energy. There is an overflow. I see a world in which there is an irresistible urge to give, and God is found in the giving. I see a world in which there is generous sharing of ideas and resources, and that children are taught to give and be generous from the heart, not just because they're supposed to, but because it feels so good. So that we create an entire world of generosity of spirit, so that we give not only to each other, but to other living beings, to the plants, to the waters, to the planet herself. so that all needs are fulfilled in perfect ways. This is the world I see. This is the world I step into. And so it is.
Okay, guess what? I wrote half a song. Do yourself a cosmic favor and lay your eggs in the spirit of savor. Springtime, and it's natural just like hens. 'Cause when you're serving sacred soup, your chickens do not fly the coop. You love your practice again and again. And if you're self-conscious and oh so nervous, give yourself to sacred service. If you're hurting, just love somebody else. You enter in God's dimension when you take all the attention off of your small itty-bitty self. It's irresistible, not an obligation. It's a labor of love, a joyous celebration. So do yourself a cosmic favor and lay your eggs in the spirit of savor. It's springtime and it's natural just like hens. 'Cause when you're serving your sacred soup, your chickens do not fly the coop. You love doing your practice again and again. I forgot the country and western twang. Can I do it again? I have this whole country and western twang.
A reprise?
Maybe, what's that?
A reprise?
Yeah. Do yourself a cosmic favor. Lay your eggs in the spirit of savor. That's not it.
Scott Grace. It's so fabulous. So now is the time for another practice, giving and tithing. So if you would prepare your gift right now, and just to let you know that as we pass the baskets, some people put a little card in that says, I've already pledged. That means that more than half of the members have elected to connect the office with a number of their bank. And have said, I am donating so many dollars per month or per week or so, whatever, and we followed their directions, and it's a very simple and easy way to give, and so that's what those little cards mean. And if you would like to do that, or if you on the web would like to do that, you can just call the office, email the office right here, and we'll get that set up for you. But as we move into this sacred practice of giving, let's just know that we give within God. God gives and we give. And that as we give, that circulation, just as the beautiful bowl on the altar indicates, giving and receiving are the same movement. It is moving the blessings around. So we have no intention whatsoever of hanging on to the blessings or grabbing at the blessings, because they are continuously given. And so as we freely give, we can open to freely receive. And it all works so beautifully because there are more blessings than we have breaths to receive them. I give my thanks for this offering, and so it is. Now, I have a little thing about this this wonderful song that we're going to sing. He's got the whole world in his hands. You know the first verse. Then we have 2 more verses that I kind of tweaked a little bit. So just sing out on the first verse. He's got the whole world in his hands, and then read from there on. Okay, receive the gifts and sing the song. I give thanks for this offering and for all the good that it does. I give thanks for the open hearts in giving and receiving. Blessed be. Okay, well, we are coming down the home stretch here. Reverend Sarah is going to pray us out in a moment, but in preparation for the annual meeting, I would like the center section to not put their chairs away. The outside sections can put their chairs away, and the chili, both vegetarian and non, will come out in just a moment, and it'll be obvious who you give your $5 to. And then they're going to set up some tables in the cleared areas so you can sit at tables and not spill the chili on yourself while we have the meeting, okay? And let's see. And thank you, Katrina. The Jackie and Mary have the membership list and the voting cards. So I would like them to be at, kind of right up in front here. Do you need a surface to be able to do that? Okay, then take the surface that is the education table. Take the back half of the education table. Some of you have voting cards already. Members need to sign in and get a voting card. Get your lunch. Then it will all happen around you. It'll be wonderful. And we'll get out of here in an hour and a half, and you will feel great about your community. Thank you for coming, and let Reverend Sarah pray us out now.
And if the practitioners would come forward. These are professionals who are trained and normally paid and volunteer their services every week. There's practitioners that come forward to do that. And if the other practitioners would also surround the room. So we just relax into that awareness that Spirit is truly all there is. One presence, one power. We are one with it, no matter what name we call it. And so we open our minds to the infinite wisdom that is always there guiding and directing us. And we open our hearts to the love that is Spirit, always surrounding and enfolding us and moving through us. And we open both our hearts and our minds to what is wanting to happen by means of us in the world, to what is our joy, our pleasure, our desire to serve, which is both healing and grateful for us and healing for those who receive it. So we give thanks for that guidance and give thanks for all that is. And we accept right now the wisdom also for the infinite intelligence of our bodies to harmonize and heal all that needs to be harmonized and healed. And to know that if there is anything heavy on our hearts and minds, that the answer is already complete in the mind of God, unfolding perfectly in its right way, as we are guided step by step along that way. So we accept this already done, complete in the mind of God, and simply wait for wonderful reports and delightful surprises. And so it is. Amen.
I ask you all to stand now for our affirmation. Right up here. All of the energy, thoughts, words, and work that go into the world from me create great benefit. I am a powerful force for good, and all lives I touch are enriched. The work of the infinite is done through me.